Leaving behind Hoo Mountain, we're reaching the Bean Fields where many funny looking enemies await us only for us to beat them to pulp. That's what we like! We finally reach Bean Town only for us to see it being in complete shambles. Everything destroyed! The citizens dead! Okay, maybe just injured, but hey, we can still conveniently at least buy items and some equipment. So I guess that's a big dub. After seeing the apocalypse the town went through, we try to enter Bean Castle. We, the foreign foot soldiers, are being stopped by some complete stupid guards. No, seriously, they are the most incompetent and idiotic guards I've ever seen. But I digress. By showing that golden rose to the guards that we've gotten from Peasley, we can finally enter the castle. It looks quite green, just like beans. Upon exploring the castle, we eventually meet a hooded elder woman called Lady Lima. Given the current situation, she doesn't want us loitering around inside the castle because we're apparently shady looking people, which is fair to be honest. As a result, she proceeds to send us down the sewers of the Bean Castle. She says that if we can prove that we are the true Mario Bros, then we should be able to repair the pipes inside the sewer system of the castle. Wow, so this is actually the first time Mario and Luigi are doing what their resume promised us? Plumbing? Wow, that was unexpected. I mean, I could never tell if they were plumbers or carpenters, you know? But this right here isn't your typical pipe fixing you see from actual plumbers in real life. No, you need to use the hammers and knock down these corks, so that the water can flow through the pipes under normal circumstances again. All of this is tied to a puzzle you need to solve in order to progress further into the sewers. Just how I swooned about it over in Hoo Mountains, I can say the same thing for the sewers. It just perfectly uses its environment, makes the location you're in really immersive. After some pipe fixing puzzles, you then encounter an individual who looks just like Lady Lima and... The Lady Lima we encountered upstairs was a fake, wasn't it? Dang it, it was Cacletta again. By the way, she was LARPing the same person twice, like how can you make this up, gang? After saving the real Lady Lima and the servants of the castle, both Mario and Luigi climb up the stairs that lead to the room where the Beanstar was supposedly kept safe. Of course, Cacletta didn't come unprepared and already had a certain someone escort us out. That's right, it's none other than Queen Bean herself. Looking and acting like a true She-Hulk, she doesn't waste time and starts attacking us. The way this next boss fight works is that she has two swollen arms which can create shockwaves. It has two different versions, one with both arms where she creates slow but bigger shockwaves, and one with only one arm that creates faster but smaller ones. If you make one of her arms like a stick, she will try to hammer down with her swollen arm onto one of the bros. If both of her arms become like sticks, she proceeds to spit out beans to attack Mario and Luigi. If I recall correctly, when you hit one of those beans, they become beanies and she can use them to heal herself. But that's just where I am not sure about it, because I was actually able to beat her without her doing all of that. So, we defeat Queen Bean, and shortly after, Lady Lima reveals to us that the queen is being invaded by a small worm called Belly Blech, causing her to look like this. After some heated discussion, seemingly hopeless, the Mario Bros still want to help Her Highness by going to the forest called Chuckling Woods. There resides the legendary Chocola Reserve deep within its roots and trees. We also get the Bean Brooch as a mark for special guests for Bean Castle. So, we know where to go, and we got the Bean Brooch. What are we waiting for? Let's move our asses over to the forest. Oh, but before that, we got a forced tutorial on how to equip a badge. That's irrelevant though, since it's very easy to do so. Anyway, next destination, Chuckling Woods. We show our brooch to those two butlers who were standing at the gate and reach Chateau de Chocolat. Very French name, mon ami. The hallway presents us the process of brewing the Chocola Cola. From finding a fruit, to placing it into a barrel filled with syrup, to telling it jokes, to finally serving it in an exquisite manner. You know, I wonder what happens if you try to feed it with bad jokes. Will it come and try to end you? We then have to master a labyrinth full of barrels only for us to come out without Mario and Tao, but instead we have one of the best characters following us. Best character? Who the hell is that? Ladies and gents, meet Popple. He is a self-proclaimed shadow thief looking for treasures everywhere. Upon encountering him, we also meet a sidekick called Rookie. Wait, isn't that? Mario and Luigi immediately recognize that this is Bowser. He, on the other hand, doesn't seem to remember these two quite well. So what did happen? Well, Popple mentions that he found him unconscious in the Hoo Mountains, that he took him under his wing as his apprentice. But even if Rookie doesn't remember that anymore, he still is kind of familiar with their aura, which is why he's getting so mad. Boss battle time. I really like how these two are supposed to be the Wario and Waluigi of this game, because they both are basically the counterparts to Mario and Luigi. A duo who seeks out for treasure to gain money from it, and another duo who seeks out for treasure but for the sake of helping someone getting their true original self back. Dare I say, a clash of ideals? Though the boss fight wasn't really that spectacular, it's just Popple trying some of his shenanigans on us by trying to steal our stuff. And of course, Rookie, who suddenly discovers that he can breathe fire. Yeah, that sure is Rookie's special attack and nobody else's. We easily defeat them by getting rid of Rookie first, and Popple, who just takes a bounce when he sees that he has no chance to win whatsoever. They may have lost now, but rest assured, we, yes, you and me, will see them again very soon. We then meet the two owners of the mansion called Cork and Cask. Funny naming that refers to corks put on bottles of wine and casks, barrel-shaped wooden vessels that are used for aging, storing or transporting liquids. The names make perfectly sense for reasons you should understand by now. They both teach us two new overworld moves called Mini Mario and Luigi Dunk. Mini Mario is a move used when Luigi whacks Mario's head with his hammer, making him, as the name suggests, mini. With Luigi Dunk, you pound Luigi with Mario's hammer onto the ground, making him look like a mole digging underground. With the help of these newly learned moves, we obtained the red and green goblets that Cork and Cask were looking for, and we're finally being allowed entering the Chocolate Woods, where new threats and maybe surprises would await us. After battling new enemies, finding a few golden beanies that give you extra EXP, who proceed to flee from battle like the scaredy cats they are, and looking for the Chocola Reserve, we meet the wise mystical tree also known as Chocolroot. He tells us that up ahead is the mother tree Chocolola. To get there, we need to bring him 3 Chocola fruits of 3 different colors: white, red, and of course purple. If we bring him all 3, he lets us pass and we can continue on. So, let's get collecting! On our way to the first one on the left, we meet the wise mystical tree's granddaughter, who explains to us these bean spots where we can dig out some beans. To say the least, they'll be useful for something that is tied to an Easter egg or a side quest, so to speak. We collect the 5 beans and are in a room and proceed with our quest as she vanishes underground. The red Chocola fruit is already within our grasp. However, as we wanted Mario to get it, we suddenly see an angry Wiggler coming out of the bushes not wanting to let us pass. So the only choice we have is fighting it. The boss fight is fairly simple. You just have to dodge his temper tantrums while dyeing his body parts from red to yellow so that he can chill out a bit. Jumping on his head makes your attacks very effective, but so does his rage mode trigger faster. After some rinse and repeat process, the Wiggler is defeated and leaves with tears in his eyes, making us the owners of the first of the 3 Chocola fruits. The red one, that is. To get the next one, we need to find a cave where the purple Chocola fruit resides. After a bit of platforming, we receive the second of the bunch. You will have to solve a time attack puzzle with the newly learned overworld moves from Cork and Cask. Beating it will grant you access to the third and final Chocola fruit, the white one. With all 3 Chocola fruits in tow, we go back to Chocolroot, who will grant us permission to get to the Chocolola. But before we can enter, Popple and Rookie arrive. They may have lost now, but rest assured, we, yes, you and me, we'll see them again very soon. They both leave the bros in the dust and are heading for the Chocola Reserve. We, of course, are going to try and stop them. A bit deeper inside, we find a mysterious man in a suit that resembles a bean. He also seemed to mumble some bad joke, like I don't know what it is. He also owned a company called Chocola Cola Inc. He was feeding this beverage with jokes for over 1,000 years. So you tell me he's been living like this for 1,000 years. He's over 1,000 years old. Now that's some dedication. You know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and do the same thing like him. Oh, by the way, Popple and Rookie were caught in the act. Just wanted to throw that in, but it doesn't matter. Because honestly, who cares? And oh my god, it's happening! My worst fears became true. That's right. The Chocola Reserve will be our next boss battle. See, this fight wants you to use your hammer as much as possible. The reason for that is that in his normal state, you can't really do anything with jumps. So you have to attack with your hammers. And once you do that, you will get to fold him into a croissant. Gotta keep the French traditions alive, huh? He is the most vulnerable in this form. However, Bubbles feeds him with bad jokes so that he can heal. We finally defeat the Chocola Reserve, allowing us to bring it to Queen Bean. Bubbles is mad about how we easily defeated it and how his hard work was in total vain. It leads him to not wanting us to leave the way we came from. No, he's straight up trying to get rid of us by locking us up in a dungeon. This ensures that Mario and Luigi are separated forever. Well, not if Luigi can do something about it. He's trying to find a way to Mario. When he eventually did that, he reaches the barrel and juggles all the way down to the Bean Bean Castle. There, we deliver the Chocola Reserve and bring Queen Bean back to her former self. She then proceeds to drop some lore on the legendary Beanstar. It says that it's the protector of the Bean Bean Kingdom and has the power to grant any desire someone wishes. Due to its powers, it's being sealed away and put to sleep in a somewhat safer place. Oh yeah, we saw how that went well. The only way to wake it up from its slumber is to have a pure and kind voice. The only one having that kind of voice today is of course Princess Peach. So this is the reason why Cackletta stole her voice, huh? We gotta stop her. While it does sound like we're in trouble, Queen Bean is very confident about stopping Cackletta and her plans. So with that, she wants us to go meet Prince Peasley, who tells us where to go next. Thanks to his hard work on a secret mission, we know where Cackletta's whereabouts are. Southeast from the Bean Bean Castle is a building called Woohoo University. So this is where we're going next, huh? Guess that only means one thing. Next stop, Woohoo University. Yeah, you guys probably feel rage baited, and I'm sorry. Though there may not be much, you can now fully explore Bean Bean Town. Just like in your typical RPG manner, you have NPCs you can talk to, and some of them even have side quests for you to do. One of them asks you to find beanlets, puppy-like pets who are owned by the Bean Bean Kingdom inhabitants. As for the other one, the Beanstones. These are tied to some old ancient civilization called the Soybean. An old man wants to study them so that he can finally develop a hypothesis revolving around the existence of the ancient Soybean civilization, who are seemingly forgotten today. Those are some of the side quests you get in RPGs when people share their motives and backstory with you in order to give you an understanding of what's going on and if you can potentially help them. It is a common thing in these types of games after all. Last but not least, we cannot forget about him, of course. Who do I mean? Well, a guest character from a different series, of course, who makes an appearance, and it is none other than Professor Egat. He is a character that first appeared in Luigi's Mansion, which came out in 2001 as one of Nintendo GameCube's launch titles. He owns a bean coffee shop in this game, and is eager to try out many of the coffees brewed by different types of beans we find. And there you have it. The reason the beans are there is exactly because of that. If you give him a certain type of bean coffee, he will reward you with special items that might help you in battle, or that are just homages on other franchises. Pretty neat, but nothing that blows out of the water. Bean Bean Town overall is a fine and chill place, but there is not really much to do. Aside from side quests and maybe one of the 9 warp pipes that can be used when activated once. Right, there are 9 warp pipes across the entire map that you can find for fast traveling. Very practical if you ask me, especially when you want to backtrack in the late game. But now that we're done exploring Bean Bean Town, we can finally move on with the current plot. For real this time. Next stop, Woohoo University. The next part is probably one of my favorites in this game. We now enter a university where Cackletta and Fawful are apparently holding the Beanstar trapped. This facility used to be full of life, but what's left are fleeing students and... That is genuinely fucked up. Imagine you are minding your own business and some freaky witch and her equally psychotic right-hand man turn you into some monster, only for you to become a bootlicker to some 2-bit Italian plumbers. I sure as hell would declare this as the worst day of my life. And it's not even close. Upon defeating the laser sniffet, you will then be greeted with a huge main hall where different paths lead you to different parts of the university. The puzzles in themselves aren't that hard. Of course, as someone who wasn't playing the game for the first time, isn't surprised by any of that anymore. The first, and also main puzzle you need to solve is adjust some of the mirrors, or whatever they are called, so that the light you activate after solving a puzzle can be reflected through those reflectors that would help us progressing through the university. Moving on, we also have some Easter eggs to check out. I'd say Mario Luigi has a fair amount of Easter eggs that can even go back to one of the older titles. Heck, we even have a very based laboratory where people experiment on special block types. One of them being bros blocks, random block, or even a rally block. Now, what these 3 don't have in common is that with the bros block, you essentially have to jump consecutively and alternatively with Mario and Luigi to gain coins. A random block, however, doesn't let you know when to press the A or B button respectively until either an M or L pops up randomly. That's where timing is asked. Lastly, the rally block. This one lets you have Mario and Luigi hit the block with the correct time while switching one side to the other. The more you progress, the faster it gets, and the more likely you will miss it. I genuinely like how they give you the idea that you are actually inside a university. Like, the atmosphere inside here is eerie, and you can tell that its interior spaces have been ruined by Cacletta. Plus, with all those Easter eggs, and especially the laboratory where their study materials is a pretty well done detail. It's just like in a university where you do scientific research, which is the whole purpose of this building. Something I wanted to point out before moving on, I was talking about how there are many Easter eggs in this game. Lo and behold, we have blocks from past Mario games here, which is really cool. I just love when a sub-series pays respects to other series, or like even their own mainline series. We have a block from Super Mario Bros., Super Mario World, Super Mario 64, and even Paper Mario. Wow, so many appreciation Easter eggs and references. I mean, it ain't like it's gonna stop with objects, right? That's right. We also have viruses from Dr. Mario here appearing as cameo enemies. The way you defeat them is practically the same like how you do in Dr. Mario. You need to make it so that the viruses have the same color. If you do, all the viruses will all be defeated at once. It doesn't even end here. We have another puzzle that we need to complete where you have to get Luigi out from a barrel. Here, you have to climb your way up to him by jumping over barrels. Well, if that isn't a reference to the first Donkey Kong arcade game where Mario, also called Jumpman during that time, had his first appearance, then I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, we save Luigi and eventually open up another door that leads us to a shutter room where you have to whack a water-filled Mario with Luigi's hammer in order to smash these robot mice into the electric current of the pipes. Once done, we get access to the main lab where we finally confront Cacletta and Fawful. Expectedly, it would wake up and fulfill Cacletta's wish of ruling over the Bean Kingdom. However, this is where she nor anyone else saw it coming. The Beanstar reacts very angry to the very tender singings of the robots and tries to flee. Cacletta gets mad as she wanted to go after it, but Mario and Luigi are right on cue as they finally confront her to put an end to her reign. Luigi knocks out Fawful and thus the showdown commences against the evil witch. Her attack pattern is fairly easy. She first tries to lure us into the holes she produces so that we get the wait status. This status change makes it so that we can't jump higher than intended. It makes it more difficult for us to dodge attacks. She can also duplicate herself where we have to find the real her. There isn't really a difference in design so that you could spot who exactly is real or fake. It's basically all up to luck. Anyway, we give her a good beating and can finally proceed to get the Beanstar. But a huge plot twist. Fawful absorbs Cacletta into his weird helmet and tries to get rid of Mario and Luigi. However, plot twist! Damn, so many plot twists in one go. Prince Peasley joins the fray and pokes holes at Fawful for trying to get rid of us and sends him flying to the next world. Well, now we got rid of both of them, we head down to the basement level where apparently the Beanstar has fled. Some enemies and a few puzzles later, we finally reach the room where the Beanstar is hiding. But boy oh boy, of course it won't be easy to claim it. The one obstacle we need to overcome are Popple and Rookie. They came here before us, so in order to get to the Beanstar, Mario and Popple make a deal. Winner takes all. Which means there's only one way out of this: win the battle. This fight is fairly easy as the previous ones, but there is an actual twist. Popple and Rookie are now all of a sudden able to pull off a bros move just like us. This is what I want to see in a boss fight against enemies we previously fought. That there is simply a twist behind their fights. And this is where, in my humble opinion, Superstar Saga excelled very well. Everything else though stayed the same and we defeat them without any big issues. Of course, not being able to give up like a true bean, Popple and Rookie are holding onto the Beanstar after being woken up by a cracked voice of the Peach robot that fell down, and thus all four of them fly up out of the building. With Popple, Luigi and Mario losing grip, only Rookie remains. This is where he finally remembers his true self. He is in fact, who would have thought, the real King Bowser. No way, it was Bowser all along! I'm baffled. Like, what were the odds? He, however, also loses grip eventually and the Beanstar is split into 4 pieces. A few moments later, we find ourselves on a certain beach or small island in Oho Oasis after being thrown off by the Beanstar. There, we find those funny little creatures called Ohoji. Small living beings who are sensitive towards fire and electricity and randomly attack you when put under these conditions. The island itself isn't really that interesting, it's more that the 2 small temples in the middle are the most relevant things on here. This is where Mario meets the one who has a complete mastery of his special technique. Apparently he's been waiting for 3,000 years to pass his technique to someone capable of handling his powers. Well, wouldn't you know, of course it had to be Mario. So we learned a brand new technique, the Fire Brand. The same can be applied to the Thunder Palace, where Luigi learns about the Thunder Brand. This of course means that we can use both these techniques in battle. These techniques are another reason why I think that the Superstar Saga battle mechanics are the very best of the series. Speaking of, if we use these techniques on the respective OGs, we can incite them into becoming more aggressive. Though they are easily beatable, it goes to show that the random radio we saw outside didn't just talk BS for no reason. Also, maybe some of you have or haven't noticed, but these two Brandmasters kinda resemble Brighton and Twila from Mario Party 6. Of course, each of them is a complete different character and have nothing in common at all. But yeah, I thought I would just put it out there, you know, in case someone cares about it. I mean, probably not. But I digress, because we are now going underwater. Entering through the yellow pipe allows us to be underwater and look for a way back to the mainland. Just like most places, the seabed of Oasis has a mysterious yet anxious tone. The music especially underscores that fact. Just listen to it really quick. We also have some foes to battle, like Goombas with helmets so that they can breathe underwater. Of course, this kind of rule doesn't apply to the bros, as they can just naturally do that, or their lungs are just that well trained, just like how their nose is. Their body must have really an effective filter managing all that water at once. This is also the first location where the Fire and Thunder brand are necessarily needed in order to progress. Opening up doors with electricity underwater, that definitely isn't gonna jeopardize our health in the slightest, since water actually conducts electricity. All the while lighting up some fire on the water, that wouldn't really put out any fire at all. Makes sense to me if you ask me. I mean, of course, we are talking about 3,000-year-old techniques that have been passed down by some 2-bit Italian plumbers from Brooklyn. There, we meet Prince Peasley, who tells us to go to the Bean Bean Airport because Princess Peach is arriving there? What is the meaning of this? But before we ask ourselves too many questions, we head over to the airport where Lady Lima already awaits us. The plane where Peach apparently resides in right now can't properly land because of piranha plants blocking the landing site. So, what is it that we have to do? Well, as mentioned earlier, water is the perfect conductor for electricity, right? Well, we have to irrigate the piranha plants with water and then use Luigi's Thunder brand to get rid of them. With each piranha plant defeated, a root of that huge egg in the middle of the landing site disappears, until eventually a huge piranha plant hatches from it. Well, you can guess where this might lead, right? Yup, we have to battle it. This battle is easy to understand and win. She has piranha plants coming out of the ground, however that works, and they attack us with either fire or electro bolts. If you attack the blue piranha plant with a fireball, it'll deal critical damage, which means that it's very effective. Same logic applies to the red one, which means Luigi's Thunder brand attack is effective. After some hard-hitting Hammer Bros moves, we finally defeat it, and the plane where Peach apparently sits is finally landing. The bros made their way to the castle, and as Peach wanted to open her mouth, the bros were already in awe, fearing that another literally bombshell might drop. But it turns out that this is the real Peach in her complete form as we know her. Thank God she seems to be fine. But wait, how didn't she lose her voice? Well, to be frank, it turns out the voice that's been used on the Beanstar was a fake one all along. The voice it belonged to was Birdo. That also explains why the Beanstar reacted negatively to it. Prince Peasley explains that they had warned the Mushroom Kingdom about the coming of Cackletta and Fawful, who were trying to steal her voice. Naturally, they would prepare themselves and make sure they don't get caught. I'm surprised their safe space wasn't found instantly. Like, didn't they even try to question whether the voice is the right one or not? Well, I guess the plot somehow needs to move on, right? Then again, you can't really make sure if the voice is correct because you don't have an extractor for the voice and you can't do it, at the place, you know? But honestly, I'm glad they kind of went with it because my god, is it hard to find coherent writing in some of the games out there. Because, I don't know why, like, they be making shit up just for it to not make sense at the end. And I think Superstar Saga did a great job on that one. Anyway, back to the Bean Bean Castle. We have a small audience with Queen Bean, who tells Peach that there is a small mushroom town called Little Fungy Town. It's a town where toads who immigrated from the Mushroom Kingdom came there to live. Since Peach is already here for a vacation, she wants to visit this town. But before she can actually reach Little Fungy Town, she has to go through the filled with vile monsters, Teehee Valley. Toadsworth would usually be opposed against the idea, but if the bros can escort her, there should be no issue. Of course, our favorite brothers agree, aside for Luigi for some reason. So our next stop is Teehee Valley, but for that, we need upgrades for our hammers first, which is why we visit the Hammerhead bros east from Bean Bean Town who are ready to give us some brand new upgrades. Thus, we can finally enter Teehee Valley with our newly upgraded hammers. Let's get to skull cracking. Once we enter the valley, we meet Peach and Toadsworth. While we are heading for Little Fungy Town, Toadsworth is being worried about Peach's well-being. And rightly so, because here in this case, Peach can be kidnapped by some enemies if she leaves our screen. In order for us to see what it would look like, she needs to be mandatorily kidnapped once. This right here is basically just a tutorial. So we do save her here and make sure that she won't be caught again. But from here on out, it's all up to us. This section's honestly my least favorite, even if it's not that hard. But just because of the fact I need to take care of Peach, solve puzzles, and make sure she goes to the right direction, and defeat enemies, doesn't make it better. Alas, after finally reaching the end of Teehee Valley, Peach is being attacked by a monster who goes by the name Trunkle. You all know the procedure, it's boss battle time, and time for a little analysis on how he works. So you see his big arms? Yeah, he can create rolling stones and throw them at you. Also depending on how he throws them, they can change trajectory. Pretty unpredictable, unless you have the eyes of a hawk. If you dealt enough damage, he'll split into 4 smaller versions of himself. You have to find the right one in order to defeat him. Once you did that, the rest is history. Defeating him gives us finally access to Little Fungy Town. Here, however, things might not go the way the bros and the princess had planned. Upon arriving, we are being guided by the same toads who've been in hiding from Trunkle down the valley. Peach went ahead with them, and Mario and Luigi could finally take a more detailed look at the town. Honestly, in itself, it isn't really that special aside from a minigame that will be story relevant and an Easter egg you will soon get to see. It's mostly like every town. You have your shops where you can buy items, equipment, and people you can talk to. Some of them even mention a special mushroom that you can win at their local arcade. Oh boy, we have to take a look at that. No sooner said than done, we enter the arcade and here we can win an Invinci shroom.
Man, that sounds delish.
We proceed to choose an arcade machine and play the Star Stash Smash. And would you look at that? Who do we have here?
It's Gino from Super Mario RPG!
Well, because of Square's and Nintendo's not so healthy relationship during that era, they of course had the rights to Gino, since he isn't actually a Nintendo character. Gino, in fact, is a Square character, which is why Alpha Dream had to buy the rights to Gino, and why he was able to get into the game in this shape and form. Pretty cool of Square, now called Square Enix, to give Gino one more appearance outside of Super Mario RPG, even if it is just as an Easter egg. Back to topic though. Here we have to balance a board where multiple items are gonna fall down. A mushroom, fire flower, and a star. Occasionally bob bombs too. If we are able to beat the high score of 200, we will get the prize. As we did it, Mario and Luigi received the ominous Invinci shroom. I mean, it already looks very edible, so what could go wrong? Oh, yeah. A lot of things apparently. Yeah, Mario has now been poisoned. If he doesn't heal from it fast enough, he will be turned into a bean. There seems to be no way of healing Mario unless someone goes to the Guhawa ruins to find the antidote to Mario's illness. The only one who can really do that though is none other than Luigi. At first, he generally wants to go and look for it, since he doesn't want a bean brother and wants to help him. When the doctor explained that there are monsters, such as this weird boulder, reside there, Luigi immediately starts to shit his pants and now doesn't want to go because he's too scared. Peach tries to encourage him but fails miserably. Yet, Luigi still gives himself a nudge, barely, and leaves the hospital to look for the antidote. Now, we only get to play as Luigi where he only crouches. Bro, get this man a toilet. That asswipe is gonna be generational. Well, Luigi can jump, is scared, and doesn't want to save his brother. So what do you do in a situation like Luigi's? Simple. You seek therapy. And I'm not kidding, by the way. In order to get Luigi gain confidence, he needs to actually seek the infamous hypnotist, who is apparently able to change a person completely. Luigi meets a Magic Koopa, who is in fact the hypnotist that can change other people by enchanting spells on them. He casts spells on Luigi, making him think he's just like Mario. As a matter of fact, he says that Luigi is Mario. And thus Mario finally gained his true self and is now ready to take on the Gufawa Ruins. The what? The Gufawa Ruins. Upon hiking through a part of Teehee Valley to get to our destination, we finally reach the ominous Gufawa Ruins. I hate that name. We have to solve a small puzzle by hammering some energy balls onto the statue 10 times. When successful, you can hammer down that big red button and the door to the ruins opens itself. It feels kind of like a dungeon in The Legend of Zelda. At least that's the kind of vibe I got when playing through this dungeon again. Just like an old-fashioned Zelda manner, not really fitting, but the context can be applied here. You defeat enemies and solve puzzles in order to progress. There was one particular puzzle that stood out, and it was the one where you have to push certain buttons in certain combinations so that you can elevate or lower the platforms. It was fairly easy, nothing really blown out of the park. But now, we finally reached the rumored monster who apparently ate, slit, and decimated toads to pieces in order to nurture on their life forces. To my surprise though, he isn't really a bad guy at all. Oh, and the rumors about him are also made up. Reminds me of Twitter. In that jump minigame of the monster, we have to dodge his fireballs for 30 seconds. If we make it, he'll let us pass. If not, well, the consequences are allowing me to retry it over and over again, which frankly, I had to. Yes, I know it's a shame, but I eventually make it and we can finally get the antidote needed for healing Mario. As we are about to deliver the antidote to Mario, sudden lightning strikes are hitting little Fungy Town. Wait, that silhouette. Bowser? Nope, it's not Bowser. It's Cackletta who fused with Bowser while they were in the Stardust Fields. So this is where Fawful and Bowser landed after the crashing party inside Wuhu University. Anyway, she goes by the name of Bowletta now and kidnaps Peach to some far off place. Luigi quickly goes to the hospital and finally heals him. Thus are the bros finally together again. Back inside Bean Bean Castle, we're having a reunion with Queen Bean, Lady Lima, Toadsworth, and Prince Peasley. Lady Lima transmits us a message of Bowletta, who issues an ultimatum to us. She wants us to find the 4 Beanstar pieces that split up after our battle against Popple and Rookie. In return, she will give us the princess back. There is one problem though. If we don't get the pieces for her, she will not give her back to us. Secondly, we don't even know where they exactly are. But that's fine, because Peasley gives us an estimated layout of where the Beanstar pieces are. However the hell he managed to do that. Peasley then wants to have a bet with us. Whoever finds all the pieces first will get 99,999,999,999,999 mushroom coins. Luigi seems to be very hyped about it and gets stabbed by Peasley's sword, which he seems to like. I mean, I'm not one to judge, I ain't gonna pry into your business. Lastly, Toadsworth recommends us to go find the Beanstar piece hidden somewhere in Teehee Valley. Guess that means next stop would be Teehee Valley again. Heeding Toadsworth's advice, we head straight to Teehee Valley where we find a huge ship that is stuck inside a wall and can't move because of no water flowing under the ship. When boarding the ship, we discover the first Beanstar piece necessary for our collection. Let's grab it! Or not, because of Mario and Luigi being too slow, some skeletons took it right from under our nose and headed inside. Once inside, we are actively looking for the Beanstar piece and eventually stumble upon an entrance to the storage area where the piece is. In order to enter, we have to get ourselves a membership card, which is what we're doing now as we have to play a minigame to get it. Once beaten, we get the membership card and can finally enter the storage area. There, we need to get out Bloat. That's this guy's name, by the way. He's stuck inside the wall because he drank too much Chocola Cola, which made his bone become thicker. So we have to find a way to get him out of his misery. And what's the best solution for this? Explosives! So, we go where the captain's cabin is located and smash down with our hammer on the wooden planks that are standing out, which spawns a dynamite. We of course fuse the dynamite without thinking about the consequences and free Bloat from his problem. Oh yeah, did I mention consequences earlier? We are being flushed away by the water and the ship sinks with us together. You know, Titanic style. Wait, that means... Yay! More water section. I don't really sound enthusiastic, do I? Well, to be quite frank, I didn't really miss it, but hey, here we are yet again. So it's once again solve puzzles, use the techniques we learned, and get out of the surface, all the while following the Beanstar piece that floats away. We eventually arrive at the surface again, where we finally reach the Guaja Lagoon cross beach. Here, we meet 3 gossip girls who love to talk about rumors and news reports. Apparently, there is a Beanstar piece that has been found by someone named Hermie who decorated his shell with it. Well, we have to check that out then. We first stop by in some massage parlor that is being patroned by special and god damn, who are they? The Jellyfish Sisters, huh? Well, guess you know what time it is, huh? Well. If occasion asks for it, then I'm just doing it. You know, usually I don't really look the part, but if worst comes to worst, or best comes to best in this case, then of course I just do it, you know, because this is what I do. Wait, what? Yeah, they aren't here to satisfy us, unfortunately. Instead, we get to learn some new overworld moves once again. With Mario's Firebrand, we can now move faster in a certain direction, as if we're letting a bolt charge straight at us. The other technique, the Thunderbrand, gets to paralyze the person in front so that we can move slower but precise. Also, we can move backwards. Once learned, we need to bring the Jellyfish Sisters red and green bean pearls. That kinda reminds me when we had to find red and green goblets for Cork and Cask. Good times. But after we found the 2 bean pearls in their respective colors, we can finally continue with our journey. You know, I usually would try to talk about the environments of the game a bit more, but honestly, it is just a beach-themed location that has not really anything special going for it. Aside from the relaxation part where, you know, go to the massage parlor and... But yeah, it's mostly just solving puzzles, defeating brand new enemies with cool unique attack patterns, and just a very chill vibe overall. Oh, and the music in this area is really a huge banger. I personally caught myself humming to it while playing through that section. This is something you could say about the OST of Superstar Saga in general. Yoko Shimomura is the composer of all the Mario Luigi games, aside from Brothership. And I mean, she composed for thousands of games already in the past, even for games you wouldn't expect her to do. I consider her to be the GOAT of the composers, if I'm not gonna lie. Maybe also because I'm a bit biased towards Mario Luigi, because she produced many, you know, good OSTs for that game, and since I mostly grew up with the Mario Luigi games when it comes to her composing for, you know, specific games. But hey, I do not want to discredit other works. She also composed many bangers for other games in her whole career so far. Anyway, after solving the puzzle, a stone plate bridge appears and we finally get to meet the infamous Hermie of the Guaja Lagoon. He looks so proud of his Beanstar. How about I just steal the show by letting these fangirls lagoon over Mario and Luigi, huh? Oh. Well, that escalated quite fast. Yeah, he doesn't seem to be happy that the fangirls dropped him off like that. So it's boss battle time! His fighting style is rather unexpected. I mean, he can use his claws to attack Mario and Luigi in a rather spontaneous pattern. When his claws pop out like that, then it means that he's going to attack the bro. However, when it doesn't, he switches claws and attacks the other one instead. Also, in order to damage him properly, it's recommended to first knock out his claws and then attack him. Fire attacks are also recommended so long as he isn't cooped up inside a shell. And, well, that's pretty much it for the boss fight. We win, he whines about his loss, and the fangirls apologize to him for ignoring him in the first place. Plus, we tell them that we need the Beanstar piece ASAP. Without being reluctant about it and showing understanding to our purpose, we finally receive our first Beanstar piece and can move on with our search. Man, overall the first quest for the Beanstar pieces was quite fun, even if it took a lot of time. But honestly, this game has probably the best pacing out of all the Mario Luigi games. I mean, it takes you around 14 to 18 hours tops to beat it overall. I know old games, especially Mario, were never that long. Aside from maybe the mainline games, but even then they didn't take hundreds of hours to be beaten. With that in mind, let's continue with the second Beanstar piece. And this one is probably one of my favorite ones, or my favorite one in this entire game, because it is tied to a very cool subplot. North of the Bean Castle, we arrive at a theater. Here we meet a moron who doesn't want us here, and the owner of this very theater and president of the Yoshi fan club. Unlike his apprentice, or whatever role he's supposed to fill in, the owner sees this otherwise and welcomes us with open arms. To the bro's surprise, he is the legendary soda maker Bubbles' brother. His name is Bottle, and he built this theater out of love for Yoshis. As you would do in a kind manner, we ask if he could give us the Beanstar piece that is attached to that board behind him. He reluctantly agrees, but under the condition to look for something that could easily replace it. Thus, he asks of us to gather 7 neon eggs that can only be produced by Yoshis. For that, we need to find specific fruits called the bean fruits, just like how the old man from the theater mentioned it. Thus, we embark on an adventure and... Whoa there! Are you not gonna talk about the theater in itself? You know, one of the most prominent and most beloved places in the entire game? Right, my bad. Yeah, I think this location is probably my second favorite out of all of them in this game. I mean, just look how many Easter eggs there are, which are starring many different games. There's even an NPC who says, coming soon, the action blockbuster Mario Luigi. Like, they are treating these gaming franchises like movies, and it just fits so perfectly well in this environment. I mean, it's even funny how Alpha Dream was able to use the fourth breaking wall this smart. That is just genius Easter egg design. And yes, I will glaze Alpha Dream for minor things like this. I don't care what you have to say. Aside from that though, we also have WarioWare, Kirby, heck, even Starfy is present. Sorry, I mean Staffy. Gotta be careful with copyright. Okay, but enough dawdling. We are headed for the bean fruits. The first one we find is beyond the bridge where the ship of these skeletons from Teehee Valley took off. It's been eaten by a piranha bean and now we have to beat it up. This fight is probably the most tedious fight in the entire game. It's not even a hard fight, it's just that this plant takes so few damage even if you attack effectively with Luigi's Thunderbrand. I know there is definitely a way to deal more damage, but this fight in general is really just a test of patience. His attack pattern is easy. He spits firebolts at you that you need to dodge perfectly. Depending on where he stands, he can spit them out faster. He also seems to be spitting out something, or rather someone, who looks a bit like Prince Peasley. After this egregious fight, we defeat the piranha plant, and the person this plant actually gobbled down was in fact Prince Peasley. We revert him back to his original state, and he gives us as thanks our first bean fruit. We go our separate ways, and the search continues. Okay, so to progress a bit faster, I decided to just show footages of you on where these bean fruits are, because honestly, you just go look for them, and most of them are only hidden in underground, so they aren't really like, you know, the first one we just covered, where it's tied to a battle or something, you know, so you will just see a few cuts and yeah, that would be pretty much it. Also because I think some of you would just turn off the video and I can't have that. You need to stay near the end of the video.
Let's go!
After gathering all the bean fruits, we return to the theater and feed these to the Yoshis. Each one of them gives us a glowing neon egg and we deliver them to Bottle. He hangs them up and in return gives us the Beanstar piece, making it the second one in our collection. Let's go! Halfway done! Next up are the 2 quickest pieces that you can get. The third one can be found in Harhout's studio, which is south from Bean Bean Castle. He's currently looking for Splart assistants who can make designs for his clothes. So all we have to do is following his instructions and design the clothes the way he wants them to look like. To quickly explain how this works, we need to hit the correct flying bob-bombs to get the correct color and pattern down. Some require to be combined and some need the signal treatment. It's fairly easy to understand, but the execution can be very annoying, not necessarily hard. Our first assignment is to color the cloth red with any pattern we want. The second one has to be purple with polka dot pattern. And the last one needs to have brown color and a star pattern. We complete this minigame and the owner gives us the next Beanstar piece, which makes it number 3. Only one more left. The last one can be found inside Chocolog Woods. This time, we enter the realm of the Winkles. It's a little place where a small tribe of snails live. They may be small and weak, but they hold on to the tradition like they have to put their life on the line for it. Very admirable little fellas, really. The Winkle Coliseum that entails a minigame called Chocola Bounce is the pride and joy of these funny creatures. If you want to get acknowledged by them, you have to win that minigame. So here we are. The goal of this minigame is to repel those energy bolts that these things spit back at them to gain points. There's also a small snail on the bottom of the screen. If it reaches the other side of the screen, we lose. So we have to gather 20 points in order to win. However, if the bros get hit, the snail on the bottom of the screen will go faster, which means that we lose time before hitting a new high score. This game isn't that difficult though. Once finished, you get the Winkle card. It's a token that lets the Winkles acknowledge you. This means that we can finally enter the area that's been guarded by that one Winkle. And who do we find here? It's our good old buddy Popple. Since Bowser is now out of the picture, Popple is all on his own now. Despite us cornering him, he challenges us to a battle, which we easily win, since he didn't pose any challenge at all. We defeat him and finally get the last piece of the Beanstar, which only means one thing. Wow, so epic. A brand new message from Boletta appears and she basically tells us to bring over the Beanstar to the Crypt of Cruddy Jokes. Jokes end. Of course, handing over the real Beanstar would be stupid, which is why Peasley prepared a dud to hand it over. Upon unleashing his Toad Rage, Toadsworth gives us Peach's extra clothes. Well, I do know already what's it being needed for. Before leaving, we have Peasley who reminds us of our bet as we prevail to win against him. He gave us our promised reward. Though, it turns out if you convert all these bean coins into the Mushroom Kingdom currency, it's only gonna be worth 99 coins. Which isn't even enough for a Super Nut! But hey, at least we got the job done. You know, we gathered all the star pieces, we completed the Beanstar, it is back in its original state. Now we just have to deliver it. Or well, we have to deliver the dud, of course. Next up, Jokes End.